My name is Dave Beagle. I am the director of channels over here at Ooma, and I welcome the opportunity to speak to you guys today. I really enjoy the aspect that we get to be part of the TAP program. I think this is a good opportunity for us to get our messaging out. So who is Ooma? It's usually a good question, and what do we do? And so you may already have heard of us. We've been around for quite a while. We've been around since 2004, and what we've been doing historically has been delivering UC services, so unified communications. And we've expanded our portfolio to deliver a few other synergistic type of solutions as well, whether it be LTE or Wi-Fi or even some other ancillary things. And I'll cover that in another slide. But, really at the crux of where we started as a residential VoIP provider, not unlike some other players out there. But what that really gave us was a DNA in how we are able to deliver a solution and a service set for a SMB and maybe SOHO who may not have the IT technical resources in-house. That could be the technology itself. It could be maybe the expertise. And that's where the MSPs come into play. In talking to a couple of the MSPs that I've known for years, one of the things that they've always struggled with is that when it comes to VoIP, which natively touches the LAN, and they have to end up supporting whether they want to or not, the struggle had always been about the go-to-market. Being forced to being an agent, forced to being hands-off in the sense of allowing the provider to do all of the service and support. In Ooma, we have a reseller program that we really encourage our partners to actually take that onus on, to actually do all of that selling, do all of that support, do all of that delivery, and then monetize it. And we have programs that are all wrapped around doing that. So at the end of the day, we have the history. And that history really does translate into experience. When you look at the fact that we're supporting well over 2 million endpoints on our network, this surprises people. And that translates to the next big surprise, which is we're a publicly traded company. And in today's environment, I think that's important because you can go out and you can look at our financials and you can see that over the last few quarters, we've had successful quarter-over-quarter growth. But where that's relevant is when you look at the other big players that are in the space, they don't want to tackle the 20 user and below. They don't want to tackle the 50 user and below. They're really trying to gear more up market. And don't we all want the bigger deal? But the reality is there's still a majority of the SMB businesses that are driving the economy. And so we need to address it. And we want to provide a simplistic solution to it. The other thing that kind of wraps myself around this axis is a lot of the MSPs have always complained about the fact that quality of service is problematic. In the MSP world, we know that your margin is really defined by establishing a solution that is static and does not require a lot of dispatch or a lot of effort to actually fix things. It's about setting it right and then letting it just be, right? And so Ooma, again, with our DNA, really focus on that SMB SOHO market and what we've done with residential and how we've translated that to the SMB market with our tools and our admin functionality is really made it so that the MSPs do not have to repeat a lot of effort when it comes to the deployment. So 14, 18 years, I think we're one of the bigger players in the market that many of us don't know. And so Tyler, go to the next slide, please. I said we have a big, rich UC portfolio. And really, what the question often comes to me is, where do you fit? Will you take one user? And the question is, yes, we will take one user. In fact, you as the MSP can go in, you can quote that user, you can provision that user and support them just on your paper, not a problem. But what happens if you have the larger organizations? Again, one of the historical obstacles in this space is there are so many providers in UCaaS. Who do you select? They might not be around tomorrow, or they may not have the reach globally. Our largest client is 20,000 plus users on an international level. So what did I just say? I said we could support one user and we could support up to 1,000 users or 20,000 users. So we have the scale capabilities. When you look at the different client types and the verticals that they play in, we love to work with Main Street America, companies that really focus on the reliability and the availability of the voice network. And with that, we've been able to translate things into not just UCaaS, but into SIP trunks. So if you have existing PBXs, we can tie into that. If you have a Migration to the cloud. We can look at multiple locations and tying in a PBX to a cloud environment or digit dial translations, keeping them all unified from a dial plan perspective. But the big hotbed right now is MS Teams. We're not going to try to compete with MS Teams in the amount of releases that are going out from a collaboration standpoint, or even from some of the other elements that they deliver. We will focus on the core. So we do direct routing for Teams, and that's the voice quality. And why would you want to use Ooma for direct routing? At the core of everything we do is voice quality. We have the history of being able to troubleshoot voice quality. We have the relationships from our peering standpoint to deliver that. Microsoft, you guys all know Microsoft. You're all supporting Microsoft, and you can continue to support Microsoft on the Teams, but do you really want to do the voice side? Microsoft does not have a good voice support organization. We do. So let us be the underlying carrier for your Teams. And we see the Teams market, we see it, what started off more enterprise, we're seeing it come down significantly. Next slide, Tyler. So there are 5 points to a star. And these 5 points I tried to cover. I probably didn't cover all of them, but the reality is when you look at it, I tried to establish our credibility as an organization. We're not going anywhere. In fact, we're acquiring companies, but we're the steady Eddie of the UCaaS space. We're the blue collar of the UCaaS space. We really want to get in there and work with you and really focus. And what I would say is the key is the customer outcomes. Our channel philosophy is simple. If we take care of the customer by keeping our promises, we inherently take care of the partner. The availability and the reliability is the other point of the star. It's critical that no matter what we do, any piece of software, any piece of connection, if we don't have the availability of the voice and having the redundancy and all of the things that go with business continuity, then it's not relevant. And in today's world, as we go to cloud, and we saw this with COVID and the pandemic, you have to be available. Feature functionality. We all have features and functionalities. And the way it's funny, with 70 plus providers out there who sell UCaaS, we all sell a lot of the same things. It's like a couch. A couch is a couch is a couch. It's what is at its core of the couch. It's the hardware, right? It's the hardwood. It's the way it's put together. And then partner enablement. And I think that's part of the dialogue here. How do you enable with Ooma? We provide you the tools. We have a very easy to use portal. You can quote your own clients. You can provision your own clients. We have an LMS, so you can actually easily learn how this goes. But here's the key thing when it comes to all of the enablement: strong administrative tools. How many MSPs have tried to work on behalf of their client only to have had to then call the provider to have that MAC done? Allow the MSP to do that on behalf of their clients, and you've just given a quicker route to a solution. But more importantly, you've given the opportunity for that MSP to monetize that. And then strong incentives. We have a strong commission plan, and then we also have spiffs. Everybody likes spiffs because it's cash in hand. And especially as you're onboarding, that cash in hand actually starts to build that residual base so that over a period of time, which the average client for us stays about 7+ years, that's tangible income. I think what I read is that 10% of the revenue for MSPs is driven by voice services. Use Ooma as part of that 10%, but actually leverage our other ancillary services that you can learn about and grow that from 10 to 12 to 15% of your revenue.